Triple your rate of return with this one simple strategy. It's actually a very simple strategy. And there's really no risk. No risk. All right, so I'm working my man. We'll call him Touchdown Teddy. Touchdown Teddy. Ooh, by the way, the sparkling Kirkland sparkling grapefruit. Man, smells good. Smells like grapefruit. Tastes like grapefruit. No calories. Ooh, no sugars added. It's good stuff. Use promo code Scanlon Crushes at your Costco checkout to get 100,000,000% off. And watch the end of the video for other great deals. So I'm working my man Touchdown Teddy. And he's like, man, he's a single guy. He's crushing, legend. And he's like, dude, I'm worried about the RMDs. He's mid-60s, something like that. I can't remember exactly. I do remember it, actually, but I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, so he's mid-60s. He's like, I'm worried about RMDs because, I'm going to get spanked, blah, blah, blah. What should I do? Should I do Roth conversions? Do I do this? Do I do that? And he got a quote on an income annuity, a SPIA. Josh, no one likes annuities. They're so bad. Hang in there. And Nationwide was paying about $7,500 a year on a $100,000 SPIA. All right, so that's a 7.5% distribution yield. Not an internal rate of return. We're going to show you internal rates of return here shortly. That's a 7.5% distribution yield. All right, and remember, when you're doing a SPIA, two things happen. You're not getting any adjustment for inflation on the income. I mean, you could. That'd be silly. Don't do that. And there's no residual value upon your death. Now, you can do a cash refund, all this. We're just going to use a basic $7,500 a month or a year SPIA, no residual value and no inflation adjustment. I'm going to show you how you triple your return on this with no risk either. I guess you could say Nationwide could go out of business. Okay. There is a real risk, and I'll share it with you here shortly. All right, so let's crunch these numbers. So what we're going to do here is we're going to show you $100,000 as our investment. We're getting $7,500 a year in income. It's actually not a year. It's like, I forgot what, $635 a month or something like that. I forgot. All right, and we're going to do basically, now his is, he had a 15-year period certain or a life, whichever is longer. I can't remember exactly, but I'm just using it straight life. And you see, if he, over 10 years, he gets $7,500. Over 15 years, he gets $112,000. Over 20 years, he gets $150,000, and over 30 years, he gets $225,000. All right, ending balance is zero. So again, dump it in $100,000. We get no residual, nothing left back. And if he dies in 10 years, he doesn't even get what he put in. He has a negative internal rate of return of 4.9%. So if he dies in 10 years, he loses $25,000 and any interest that would have accumulated as well in the $100,000. All right. Which is why you always want to do, in my opinion, a 15 or 20-year, because 15-year at least gets you breaking even. So it's really 13 years. But at 15 years, he gets $112,000. If he dies at the end of 15 years, he knows for a fact he made money. But his IRR, internal rate of return, is only 1.5. IRR is just basically the interest rate he would have accumulated, essentially, if you want to look at it like that. So he jumps in $100,000. He gets $7,500 a year. Over the course of those 15 years, his gain is 1.5%. Not much. But look at this. If he stays alive for 20 years, he gets an extra those $7,500 for 5 years. Let me take our trusty calculator. $7,500 for an extra 5 years, a year for 5 years. 75 times 5, he gets an extra $37,500. And what does that do as internal rate of return? More than doubles it. So he stays alive. He's quit smoking. He gets on the treadmill. He gives up freaking drinking pasteurized milk. He starts getting out fluoride out of his water. He gets some sun, that vitamin B or D, vitamin D, right? He's freaking crushing out there. He stops watching Fox News or MSNBC. He just starts reading books. He starts being a legend like your old buddy Josh, the GOAT, the Hall of Fame GOAT. And he increases his income by $37,500, and he increases his IRR from 1.5 to 4.21. But check this out. If he lives for 30 years, obviously he doubled his income. Well, that makes sense because he's getting a flat $7,500 a year. So his income from 15 years goes up twice because he's living twice as long. But his IRR goes from 1.5 to 6.3. 6.3 is his IRR, internal rate of return. Guaranteed. The contractual obligation nationwide. They have to pay this guy as long as he's alive. Now, you can make it hard, but not likely he'll live until he's 95, because we'll just say he's 65. Well, maybe. But doesn't that give you an incentive to say, I want to stay alive longer to get an higher IRR that's guaranteed? That's only contingent on me being alive. Now, people say, yeah, but Josh, it's not adjusted for inflation, so blah, 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 blah. So check this out. Say his income buys less each year because the inflation. And that's true. I mean, $7,500 is flat. Your income does buy less each year. But you know what else you have to do less each year? Pay less tax. A lot of people don't see this side of the spears. Why do you pay less tax? Because the tax brackets are inflated with inflation. And if you're not familiar with the lack of inflation on tax brackets, you should go back to the 60s and 70s and see how more and more people, inflation increase their marginal tax rate simply because inflation is freaking disgusting, dude. Disgusting. It's basically similar to Social Security taxation today. It's crazy. Anyway, so more and more people are getting inflated into higher brackets, and finally Reagan fixed that. But anyway, so you see what's happening here is your income, while staying flat, the tax brackets are going up each and every year with inflation. So less of that $7,500 is being subject to taxation, right? So even though the $7,500 buys less from an inflation perspective, you actually net more because it's less subject to taxation. That's why this is going down right here. Because less of the income is subject to taxation. Because in tax codes inflate the tax marginal tax rates inflate. Now here's where he's got RMDs, and so one of the things we're trying to do with old Touchdown Teddy is we're trying to not get so many RMDs. And he was thinking Roth conversions. I just don't see it for a single guy the benefit of Roth conversions, especially when we want to spend the money now. We want to live high in the hog, man. And I'll just show you too, by the way, just to prove it to you here. You can see here his total outflows, they're going up. That's his, and you can see his taxes, and that's when the RMDs kick in right there. But his total outflows aren't changing. So it's 143, 147, 150, 154, 153, and 157, 61, 65. Those total outflows right there, RMDs. So they're, you can see why the taxes are going down. It's not because he has less money coming in. He still has the same amount of money coming in, but less is taxable because more the tax rates are changing relative to the inflation rate. Now check this out. Inflation numbers. Check this out. I was going to show. I didn't. I thought I had a screenshot of the 1040. I just don't feel like going back to find it. But again, just remember what happens here is we are now having more. What we're doing with taking an IRA and annuitizing. So his question is, should I do an IRA annuity or my brokerage account? I said, no, you do the IRA. Because what we're doing is we're saying instead of having that $100,000 in your retirement accounts growing, to have more of a growth so that way when RMDs kick in, you have more money for which you have to take RMDs and pay higher taxes. We're basically paying a little bit more tax on the front end. We're increasing your income, taxable income, by $7,500 on the front end. But we're stretching that $7,500 over the course of your life expectancy, how long you live, which means you're paying smaller slices of taxes today with more money, but slowly those taxes are being lessened. And on top of that, there's no growth in that portfolio, so the RMDs don't kick in off that $100,000. The $100,000 that you do in this annuity is removed from future RMDs. Why? Because you're taking the income now and you're paying the tax on it. It's a win-win-win, man. And it gives you the money to spend now as opposed to waiting. And on top of that, guess what? It's not subject to inflation. Not subject to investment risk. Not subject to interest rate risk, and nothing like that. The only risk is subject to is your lifespan or nationwide going out. So if you're like, oh man, I'm going to die tomorrow, yeah, I probably want to do this. But if you're in pretty good shape, like my man Touchdown Teddy is, why not do that? Why not? And by the way, every time people do these annuities, no, I shouldn't say every time. A high proportion of people who do annuities are satisfied customers. What usually happens is they'll do annuity for part of their portfolio because it guarantees them guaranteed income. People love guaranteed income, even if it's not adjusted for inflation. And then a couple years later, the remaining of their portfolio grew a little bit more, and they do another income annuity because they're just like, this is great. I love it. I love it. I don't have to worry about it. I get money coming in. Oh, by the way, as I get older, the payouts go higher because I'm closer to death. Remember, annuities are based on two things: current interest rates and and how old you are. The older you are, the closer you are to death, the more they're going to pay out. Just fact, because they think the insurance company says, our actuary tables say your old buddy Josh, who's 55 in a couple weeks, has longer life than my man Touchdown Teddy here, who's 65. And as such, we're going to pay Touchdown Teddy more on the front end because we don't expect to have to pay him as long as we will your old buddy Josh. Touchdown Teddy's life expectancy is 82, something like that. Josh's life expectancy is 82, something like that. So Josh will be around for another 27 years. Touchdown Teddy would be around for 17. And as such, we're gonna model the annuity that we're gonna pay Teddy 17 years of income, Josh 27. So Josh is inherently gonna get less payment, but he'll get it for longer. No different than the Social Security tables. That's how it works. And then you have to worry about this in your portfolio. On top of the interest rates drop, and he's locked this in now. He doesn't have to worry about that. People say, what if interest rates go up? Well, they could do that. And if interest rates go up, guess what? You have money still on the side. You can do another annuity, and you have higher interest rates and less longevity, so it'll pay you even more. Even if Finland agrees with that, that's why he's barking. So, man, don't be. People always say, but they're not adjusted for inflation. I just like the annuity is like the biggest reverse RMD strategy there is, man, because you're locking in this money with no downside risk other than the insurance company and you dying too soon. Well, dying too soon is a risk, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, you're dead. Okay, that's why I always get a 20-year period certain on these annuities, by the way, to guarantee you that your heirs will get something back if you die too soon. But so you're like, I got the locked in money. It's guaranteed. Every night, every month, I get a paycheck, a dividend check. Anyway, love your thoughts. God bless. Smash that like button and don't forget to use my promo code. I will see you.